Hey there, we're the Westlot Pirates and welcome to the show. We're here to share our thoughts on Northwestern athletics and college sports with thoughts and analysis from the visceral to the statistical. We run our tailgate with the red pirate flag flying high above as we give no quarter, especially the fourth. I'm Sam Walter.
I'm John Lacombe.
And I'm Eric Scuzz. This one's for all the Tostitos Scousbo.
Oh, bowl games. We had a bowl game.
How we all doing?
Bowl games, but also like chips.
Chips,
yeah.
delicious.
I like chips. Very tasty.
Mm-hmm.
I've been eating a lot of chips.
Yeah. Do they have good chips in Detroit? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's more of a pizza town, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah. So, how was everyone's Christmas? Everyone have a good holiday.
Great. Watch the bowl game. Really nice.
Yeah.
It's
anything else happen?
It's been a hell of a
funny. It's funny. Just like speaking of Christmas, I feel like some of you maybe are looking over at your Christmas tree and seeing the giant unwrapped present sitting underneath the tree. And you're looking, and you really want us to unwrap that present right now. We've got to talk some GameAbove Sports.
Yep, we will.
Hey.
We will get.
There are two presents under the tree.
There are,
because that bowl game was
that bowl game was awesome.
It was awesome.
Right.
That was. I mean, when we were looking at this bowl game, right? Northwestern versus Central Michigan. This was sort of the assumption, right? Like, we are clearly better than them. We should come out. We should just take it to them. And this should be, hopefully, a nice, easy, just like, let's go out there, get it done, and get the dub. And like that first quarter, it was not so much. But then our defense is like, you know what? Fuck that. Let's go.
Yeah, defense really took over in the second quarter and totally turned the game.
Completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I found it strangely satisfying in a way that I think Northwestern fans kind of got a little bit of a reminder of some of the offensive problems and offensive frustrations that have led us to this point, without having to absorb any final pain in terms of the score sheet or performances of the guys. It's like just a little taste off the top of that, kind of how that first quarter went. And then, but at the end of the day, Stone ends up with a great stat line. Wilde ends up with a fantastic stat line. We pile up 34 points. It's a butt kicking of a game. Right. And it's never really close. So, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. The defense is the place to start. We were talking about too. I mean,
before they kicked in, can we I just want to go back to the first drive and yes, like we experienced some stuff without maybe having to feel the pain in the end, but I'm gonna tap the pain button a little bit here, and that's in service of maybe some other things that are going to come up later. The first drive ends with us going for it on 4th and 1 on our own 34-yard line, and I don't have a problem with the decision necessarily. I thought it was a bit aggressive, but
you don't say.
But everything going into this game in terms of the dominance we should have on the O-line, everything else should make sense. When in the last 2 years have you guys witnessed us be really good in power formation settings? And for especially when it's not just a QB dive or the fun little tight end play, but a deep handoff to the running back to try to pick up that 1 yard. I would say generally it never works.
Are you referring to our stellar red zone?
Yes.
Percentage?
And this time we did it at our own 34 on 4th and 1. We did this again later in the game on a third down right at the goal line with the same play and the same effing result. And then on 4th down on that drive, we set up in an actual set that had some modicum of threat of the passing game. And I think that was the one where Como just walked into the end zone. And I just oh my God. I think I go back here because at the time, after this happened, and then of course CMU, gets off a field goal attempt with little to no effort, and we're all thinking, "Oh Lord, we are in for it today. This is going to be a rock fight. This is going to be everything we feared." It's like,
and like the next three drives, 3 and out, 10 plays and punt, and before we get that interception setting up for the short field and 3 plays for
those
touchdown.
Those didn't bother me as much as just like the complete. It like we had learned like nothing. So through the course of the year, we'd learned nothing, and then finally, I forget which touchdown it was, but later on, right, like we get Como the ball, and it was a real microcosm of everything that we have been struggling with for the last 2 seasons.
Right.
Well,
and that's what I mean.
I think like, from Central Michigan side, they are not an offense that can play from behind, like, at all. No. So when they turned it over on 3 consecutive plays and we converted all those to touchdowns, now all of a sudden they're in a world of hurt.
Well, I won't lie. Simultaneous to that, as that first drive is getting going, right? Like the booth is, the announcers are getting out all their zingers, all their pregame prep, and they're like, "Oh man, 82% of the Central Michigan roster is from the state of Michigan, and they're so excited to play here at Ford Field. They never made the MAC championship game, but they get to play here today. They're all fired up." And I'm watching them fly around the field, like housing our offense, and I'm thinking, "Oh, how is this going to happen to us again?" And then
I know.
The defense said no. They said nope.
Yeah,
and we flipped the script.
Right, and that's the thing, and then the offense got going, and it's like, again, it's like everyone got that reminder of like the frustrations, and like you were saying, it's like this microcosm of like over the past like 2 years, it hasn't been any one thing per se, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like little things popping up, and to get that reminder, and then the D just, I mean, it's not like they ever weren't dominating, but that stretch of turnovers. I think the key thing to remember about that is the fact that it was 3 straight plays and it was bang, 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 and it happened so quickly, almost like someone who looked at the box score and that stretch of plays was trending on Twitter, right? Because it was such a crazy, because I think it was like 3 consecutive plays, they turned it over.
We scored 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes of game time.
It's like all of that would lend you to believe that it was some freak set of circumstances. No, it wasn't. Our defensive line was obliterating them. That dude was just fighting for his life. The Braden Turner pick, he was just trying to get rid of that ball. Turner made an unreal play to pick it off. That one-handed interception was so flippin' good. And a guy who clearly, game of his career, 2 turnovers and that big touchdown return. So good. But just the harassment, and then Hubbs gets the hand on the ball that Bastone recovers, and they were just all over him, and it was like bang, 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 and it was like, I mean, they rushed for less than 100 yards, 2.7 a carry, threw for 178. They were never in danger of scoring at any point until our second unit was on at the very end of the game. Utter defensive domination. And for guys, again, like Hubbard, like Story, like Bastone, U-Line, right, where this is the last rodeo for these guys, just to come out and be so dominant was fitting. It was like it was deserved for these guys. It's like this is the exact performance these guys deserve. They knew they were the best guys on the field by far compared to this offense that came out. They just beat the crap out of them for 4 quarters and came away with a dominant win. It's the exact sending off that those guys deserve.
When we talked leading up to this, just reading the tea leaves on, we haven't had any opt-outs, we haven't heard anything about anybody transferring. This team seems totally locked in and bought in, and they then really just attacked this game and this inferior opponent in all the ways that we thought they should and could. And to hear Braun summing things up at the end of the game by saying, this shows you can still win in college football with culture and with commitment to each other as a team. I thought that was so indicative of everything that this group of guys has been for the last 3 years. And, a guy like Carmine being a walk-on, becoming a captain, the guys that have grown up with this team over the most, difficult time in the last 3 seasons. And it was such a fitting and deserved ending for them. It's just it was. There are some people that I think were saying like, "Oh, this was boring. Oh, it was a blowout," or what. Like, nah, I ain't never seen a bowl blowout that we've been on the right side of. I enjoyed every second of this ordeal.
Absolutely, 100%. No, like to be able to watch that and not be like stressed throughout. It's like, oh my god, what?
No years came off of my lifespan.
No, but like, just to have that sort of level of domination was just really, really nice. And like to see, like, especially like Preston Stone, right? A guy who came in, his first experience at Northwestern was abysmal. And to have him go out the way he did, 226 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks, have him lead this offense and have a good game, get that kind of bad taste out of his mouth, finish on a strong foot. That was huge. Kamalate, 15 carries, 55 yards, and the touchdown. Robbie Preckle got some run. Griffin Wilde,
awesome.
Hayden Elegon, we got, Amarazi got into the mix with that long pass, the long touchdown to Albright. We moved the ball around, but like, again, Griffin Wilde was Preston Stone's security blanket all year and just kept it up this year, or kept it up this game. 10 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was exactly where he needed to be. And I guess, one drop, I think, but made up for that immediately following.
I felt like CMU really targeted him physically. Like every time they had an opportunity, they were trying to destroy him.
I was going to say literally, targeted. He took an absolute licking in this one. And the one drop, it was kind of like, look, this guy's getting rocked. But then our offensive line, I mean, we've talked so much about this offensive line was so good and so under-respected this season. And, they gave up 1 sack in this game. Stone's jersey was clean pretty much the whole game. He was able to deal down the second half. And, it's like this. And the thing about, like, the boring thing, it was like, it wasn't boring during that first quarter when nothing was getting going. It was frustrating and annoying, which made it not boring when we finally clicked in and took care of them. It was that part was really great. So it was good. It was the kind of result that we want. It was a fitting end to a bunch of guys' careers. I mean, we mentioned all the defensive line, the offensive line. I mean, you mentioned Stone, but you're talking Tiernan, Jackson Carcello, Berenstain, Martez Lewis, 4 guys off the offensive line, right? I mean, it's all of those guys who've logged so many snaps for us and all came together to be such a good unit this year. Last rodeo for them. And they deserve to have a 34 spot on the score line and be like, at the end of the day, like, you guys finished your career going to a bowl and kicking the crap out of a team and, helping build a foundation for the Braun era here that I think is very much the way people are looking at this situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, and, again, to just shout out Aiden Hubbard. I mean, 3 sacks.
3 sacks, yeah. 3 sacks. Got himself a Senior Bowl invite, right?
Shrine Bowl, I think.
Shrine Bowl.
But still, I mean, like, getting that, draft scout in one of those postseason scouting games is huge. It's awesome. Awesome for Aiden.
Yeah, well, and this is his first game back since Michigan. It was maybe the first time he's been healthy much of the year. And you could just see him unleashed. He was unblockable. He was just an absolute maniac out there. And I like the announcers were talking nonstop about his pro potential. But he probably had a bigger impact on the game, to your point earlier, John, around like the D line causing those turnovers. I think he had the forced fumble on the second one, right?
Here he recovered it.
Oh, he recovered it.
Hubbard forced it.
Hubbard forced it with the sack. And he was like, that was part of our calculus coming in of looking at our defensive line and just how strong and powerful they were going to be with him and Saka. And, of course, both of them spent a lot of time injured this season. Saka did not play in the bowl game, unfortunately.
Which sucks. I mean, that gutted for him. But.
Yeah, for sure. And depending on what kind of, pro evaluation he's getting, we might not see him again in purple. God, I can't talk tonight. This is kind of what it was supposed to look like, but I think most important for me as we come out of this going forward, like, this was such an important game to win. And it's why not just the win, but the nature of how we won it is so meaningful to me, in that instead of, a tight white knuckle victory to get to 7-6, or a game that, ultimately we lose in a spot where we shouldn't. And maybe there would be excuses. Maybe there'd be an injury. Maybe, if we'd had some opt-outs, those sorts of things, like, we cast a lot of, maybe not doubt, but like disappointment and just like malaise, as we talked about last week, on 2026 and the new stadium and everything else that's coming. And even without the news that we got 4 days later, the excitement around what this team could be going into 2026 was much more palpable. And you heard Braun say right after the game, like, hey, this was awesome. This was a culmination of what we've been trying to achieve this year. But just because we won a bowl game does not mean that everything is perfect. We have a lot of hard decisions to make. There's a lot of ways that we can get better. I mean, I just, like, from day one, we have loved how open and candid this dude has been. And in that moment, he hit all the right notes to make you feel good about what they achieved in this game and also how they were going to try to spring it forward.
And winning this game changes the narrative somewhat, right? You've won 6 bowl games in a row. That's something that you can take with you. Have a win coming. You won your bowl game. It wasn't the greatest season, but like we could have won 9 games this year. Like, we were that close to winning 9 games. Like, the team is right there, and then to come out and be open, like you said, open and honest, like, hey, we're going to need to make some changes. We heard the writing seemed to be on the wall as far as like making some change at offensive coordinator. Like that seemed to be a foregone conclusion, although nothing had been announced at that point.
We should talk. So I was going to say, we should talk. There are kind of 2 things I wanted to mention really quickly. Well, not really quickly. But the first is the one. Well, let me, before we get to the one you're alluding to, the first is just, again, we talked about this when, after the last game of the season, heading into bowl season, and the way the Fitz news came on the back of that, and all the stuff with the portal came on the back of that in Michigan, and being like, how it sucks that the way the cycle has a way of swallowing up, what's really big games for guys, or the ends of guys' careers and stuff like that. And I think one really cool thing is, if you look at all these graduating guys, there are so many guys where it's a combination of 2 things. One, not just us, but a lot of people in the community have been able to get to know a lot of these families, because this is the nature of the community. It's one of the things that everyone loves so much about this community, and like what we love about the tailgate experience and even watching away games in bars and stuff is you really get to know a lot of these families. And I think in the terms of guys like Jackson Carcello, Carmine Bastone, but we've had great conversations with Najee Story's family, Caleb Tiernan's family, and these are all guys who not only are finishing up their careers, but have pro aspirations, right? And you can throw Hubbard into that mix, obviously. You can throw Saka into that mix if he goes, Berenstain, etc. Like, all these guys are going to try to play in the league. Like, we're going to be circling back to all of this come NFL draft time. Like, these are all guys that are either going to get drafted or going to go UDFAs and try to play. You can throw Josh Thompson, who played his senior year at LSU, into that group. I mean, he opted out. He's already prepping for the draft. And again, these are a lot of personal connections that mean a lot to us, but it's also underscores, like, a lot of these guys these guys were great Northwestern players, and they may be guys we're going to get to watch in the future too, which is going to be really fun and exciting, and a fun postscript to all this. The second piece is the Lujan piece. And I think it's important here to be like, this is the end of the Zach Lujan era. And this is
at Northwestern.
At Northwestern. Wish nothing but the best for this guy. This is someone who's barely in his 30s at this point. he has so much meaningful football left, whether it be at the FCS level, at the FBS level. This is someone who has enjoyed so much success at the FCS level early on at South Dakota State, and now hit a rough patch with the Big Ten. He is really young. He is really one thing. It's been really clear all throughout his entire career. South Dakota State people will drop in and just like go to bat for him all the time. He is absolutely beloved there. But obviously, he's super respected all through the Dakotas. I mean, I was thinking, we don't know where he'll land, but between North Dakota State, South Dakota State, North Dakota, and South Dakota, his name is just solid gold up there. Like, I would expect that he may land at a spot in one of those places and just continue the same kind of success that he had there. It did not work out at Northwestern, but it's like we take no hard feelings away from that. He gave us his very best. We want nothing but the best for this guy. Go crush it. Go do awesome work.
Well, if there's a takeaway that I think that I would encourage people to take from the Lujan era and from not just this season but last season too, is informed a lot by Iowa and what Mark Gronowski, not what he achieved at Iowa, but what he looked like at Iowa. And it is quite clear that Preston Stone is cut from a very different mold of quarterback. It is clear that Jack Lausch is cut from a very different mold of quarterback, and Mike Wright as well. And so I don't say this as an excuse, just more as a fact. Like, Zach Lujan came to Northwestern and he brought his offense, and he did not have the quarterback that he would like to run that offense through for whatever reason. And I still think Mike Wright was probably the closest thing to what he wanted.
So
I still don't understand why that ended.
2 years later, we still don't have any insight on that.
But regardless, we're never really going to learn. Well, I mean, we know what happened is that they sat him down to take a look at Lausch, and then he said, "Well, hey, can you, I'd like to take my red shirt.
Yeah.
And, what are you going to do? Tell a kid no? Like, that's not cool." So, but the point is I think a lot of people are looking at these two seasons and saying, "Oh man, that guy's garbage. He's never going to do anything." And it's just not like the success that he's had in the past. He's going to go have success elsewhere. And a lot of times if you don't have the right mix and fit across coach and QB and identity and culture, etc., you're going to struggle, right? Like if we had this year's O-line in 2024, what kind of difference would that have made? If Stone was more of a running type QB, what kind of difference would that have made? And this doesn't absolve any, maybe it was a weird choice to go get Stone with the kind of offense we wanted to run. Maybe it was weird that Gronowski didn't want to come with Lujan in 24. There's all sorts of little micro decisions that you kind of can question and press on, and whatever. That's all kind of in the past from my perspective. I just think as you look back at the last 2 years and what the offense looked like, and the disappointment that we had, and what we hoped it would look like coming out of South Dakota State, there's some real structural and just kind of binary objective reasons why it didn't play out.
It didn't work. There's for any number of reasons, big and small. There were a bunch. Different things popped up at different times. We are aware of all of it, but right. I mean, it's there are some people who will go on, who will graduate from that to lashing out or being whatever, blah, 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 getting angry, saying things that, we don't want to see anyone in our fan base say. And it's it didn't work. We wish this guy nothing but the best. Go be successful. And again, I take comfort in knowing that he has spots where there are people who will for sure give him the opportunity to take the reins again and continue to grow and improve. And again, this guy is, he is half the age of certain people who will be coming up later in this pod. There is lots of time for him to continue to do great things. So it's the end of the Lujan era at Northwestern, but there will be other eras for him, and wish him nothing but success.
If you or a loved one is seriously injured by someone else's negligence, hire Kent Simpson of the Simpson Law Group. After over a decade prosecuting murder cases in Chicago, Simpson opened his own firm focused on wrongful death and personal injury cases. He specializes in car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and other transportation accidents, as well as construction accidents, medical negligence, slip and falls, product liability, and more. Millions recovered for clients, no fee unless he wins. The Simpson Law Group, compassion, empathy, and vigorous advocacy. Go to simpsonlawgroup.com or call 312-332-2107 for a free consultation, and go Cats. And anything else to, before we close the door on the 2025 season, the bowl game, great wins, 7-6, and with the future in front of us with a brand new stadium.
I've been saying this all season, that this year, and especially with the specter of the new stadium, feels like an end of an era. And I think, John, you quipped this on Twitter at one point of like this bowl game, the way it ended, hearing Braun say there's going to be change, like there's going to be some changes. We have higher aspirations, knowing that the auspices of an $850 million football stadium, you don't go into that with hope and a whimper. No. And for all those reasons, this felt like closing a chapter for Northwestern. And in the moment after the game, we knew it was not the David Braun chapter that was getting closed. We were pretty sure, and we had been hearing from some folks close to the program, that the offensive coordinator was going to get swapped out. But it's bigger than that. It feels like the last 3 years have had so much uncertainty post Fitz, uncertainty with the stadium, uncertainty as we've navigated NIL and the collectives and all those sorts of things. Uncertainty on when the stadium will be built. Will Braun be an effective head coach? Like, what will we look like? Will we continue to look like the Northwestern of old? Will we crater? A lot of uncertainty that we all went through the last 3 seasons, and I'm not suggesting that all the questions are answered as we go into 2026, but the footing is incredibly more solid, and even more solid than it was. I mean, even think about that 21 into 22, when the defensive identity of this team had cratered, the bottom had fallen out, and we didn't know what was going on, and hoping that they could regain some of what was lost or find something with a new QB, et cetera. And in 22, they didn't. And then hoping again that with a new DC and a new QB, we could maybe find some of that in 23. And hey, they did, but a bunch of other things happened too. So I just, it's been a crazy ass 3 years. And this felt like a bookend on that time period because of what we knew was coming in the future. And then there's only been exclamation points stamped on to that
we all
bookend
see
in the days
You're
since.
over by the tree. You're shaking it. You're trying to see what's inside.
So, because you kind of talk about like the end of an era, right? Like this, I think, really closes the book on that era of transition. From moving on from Fitz with everything that happened that year, and then the 2 years that turned out much better than I think as far as like where we played. Like the Lakeside Field was just an awesome phenomenon, right. And like we had no idea what was going to happen going into that.
Well, it was an accident.
Yeah.
It was like an afterthought and an accident that fell into our laps, right? Happy accident on the lake. I didn't even mention the whole AD situation, which is so much more settled now. Which is probably a large reason that we feel so much more like solid footing going into next year. Yes, we still have an interim president, but it's also Henry Beenan who was president when we were all in school. So, sorry, carry on. I just there are a couple of things that jumped into mind of yes, these last 3 years ended up kind of good in some ways, but yeah, it was just so we had no idea what was going to occur. We had no reason for confidence.
I'm told that this all started when Henry Beanon was like, there's that one game against UNH really sticks in my craw. Who was that guy?
Who was that guy? Whatever happened to him?
But again, before we get there, I just I want to set up the kind of where we're at here. Is like, you're going into the new stadium, like the $850 million going into this stadium, and like everything looks like it's going to be this palace. And the worry for everyone, I think, is like, it's going to be expensive, and I don't want to shell out all this money for this boring team that we don't understand, that we don't know. But so we knew, like, okay, there's going to be a change at OC. That seems pretty sure. But you got to make a splash.
Can I add on? Like, it's not just that this team has been. I hate to use the word boring because I don't find them boring either.
I don't like that either. I don't like that either.
The offense has been boring and underwhelming.
Yeah.
For 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that the 2012, like the Coulter era, you can probably look at that and say it was. That was maybe the high water mark when we had Venrick Mark, et cetera. But like, it's been since 2012, y'all, that we've had
the average across that stretch has been worse than the 100th scoring offense in the country.
Yes, and this is a sport. Frankly, all sports are like run on offense. Like, the defense wins championships is the tagline that everyone likes to talk about. But I'm sorry, in football has changed its rules again and again and again over the last 25 years to shift the balance to the offensive side, because it's what people want. And like, I'm gonna quote the Atlanta Braves pitching staff from 1996: "Chicks dig the long ball." Like, it's been about offense for a long time, and it is about offense more and more. And if you want to make a splash, if you want to make a big deal, yes, winning is important. Winning is critical. But we know Northwestern is not going to go 13-0 every year.
No.
Right.
And you've got to put an exciting product on the field if you're going to ask people to show up at a Palace and pay top dollar to be there.
And so, I don't know how you can take a bigger swing at that.
Yeah, I mean,
if your goal was
you want to make a splash.
If your goal is a splash, mission,
I think we did
mission
that.
Accomplished.
Chip Kelly, guys.
Good Lord.
Oh my God.
Good Lord.
we were all joking before the pod that we had all steeled ourselves specifically. We've all sat here in these very seats and talked to you about the start of the Jim O'Neill era and the Mike Bajakian era and the Zach Lujan era. And in light of all of that, I think we were all very much like, look, whoever it's going to be, we need to steel ourselves and couch ourselves and be like, look, ultimately, despite previous resume, despite X, Y, and Z, it will all be about how this person adjusts to Northwestern, fits at Northwestern, and we need to measure our views accordingly. And that's all true. It's Chip effing Kelly. We'll get into some of the numbers. This guy won a national championship at this job less than a year ago. 37 days ago, he was making $6 million to do this job. Almost, not only was that the highest paid offensive coordinator on earth, it's almost double what anyone else was making. The Raiders of it and all that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, we're not like it's not the Westlaw Pirates now introduce you to Mike Bajakian. The Westlaw Pirates would like to help you get to know Zach Lujan. It's Chip Kelly. Like, this is one of the, like, ever heard of him? This is one of the offensive masterminds of college football ever. And
Google
not
him.
Like, Google him. It's not like, and he had his glory days. He's had glory days. again, he won a national championship doing this job less than a year ago.
Last season.
Yeah. And just this is someone whose name is synonymous not only with offensive statistical excellence, but with arguably the sexiest offensive scheme ever. He is almost patented arguably the most fun offense to watch that has ever existed. I mean, it's spread running and dynamic quarterbacks who do everything, and big passing yards, big running yards, massive amounts of points, all of it.
But you made mention of that New Hampshire game in 2006, and like, we're sitting there. It's like, okay, this is Pat Fitzgerald's first game at home since taking over after the passing of Randy Walker. And, we just went to Miami, Ohio, and did a big emotional game. And then here comes New Hampshire, right? It's like, oh, it's New Hampshire, whatever. I mean, no offense to your home state, John, at all.
But no regrets about my home state today, my friend.
It's New Hampshire. Like, and they came in and they put it on us in a big way. Like, wow.
Well, and the next year he went to Oregon.
And then he went to Oregon next year.
So before we get too deep on Kelly, I just from an overall standpoint, there's something there's some dots I want to connect, and it's this is not just meaningfully different because of who we got, and the fact that John, as you just alluded to, like Chip Kelly needs no introduction. He no deep dive into his past or his scheme or whatever. It's like right out there for the observation for anyone who's been paying attention to football for the last 25 years. But this is a gargantuan departure from the way Northwestern has hired coaches in the past. And the willingness to invest at this level, and I don't know what they're paying Kelly. I assume it's a couple mil. That seems to be the going rate for the best coordinators in college right now. But on like an $850 million football stadium, an extra couple mil for the coaching staff is money well spent, to be honest. But the willingness of Northwestern to do this and to recognize that they need to do it now, not 2 years in when it's like, oh, can Braun like scrap his way in there and get 8 wins and make this thing exciting? Oh, it's not working that well. Okay, what can we do? Let's inject some new life. No. We need to do it now on the front end. Get ahead of this, invest, and set this team up for success. That is something that has never, ever happened in the history of Northwestern athletics, period.
And like last week we were talking about the malaise. Like the past couple of weeks we've been talking about like just the malaise of the fan base, right? And just like, oh, what's going to happen now? This was announced this morning. Like I woke up to see this on my phone, like holy shit. And just seeing the chatter online,
the buzz,
just seeing the converse, the buzz, people are excited. And like that is not a place that we were 24 hours ago.
I think it's funny to like, and this is like a good place to drop this in as any, but we've talked earlier on the pod, we talked earlier this season, previous seasons, that but especially this season going down the stretch, and especially relative to Lujan, that when you talked about the situation with this offense as a Northwestern fan, baked into that was your ingrained feeling that we weren't going to do anything about. And that's what Scuzz is talking about. And it's like, look, like we all have the love for Pat Fitzgerald. We all have the deep appreciation for everything he accomplished, and his resume is his resume. But so much of that was built being like, we're like, our offense is going to be in a real frustrating place and we're not going to do anything about it. You as a fan are going to be super frustrated and you're going to feel like nothing's going to change. And all this season we were talking about that's like, there is no evidence whatsoever to support that David Braun thinks this way or acts this way. That has never been the mentality he has projected. That's certainly not the mentality that Mark Jackson projected. There is nothing whatsoever to suggest that NU will sit on its hands here, other than, as Scuzz just alluded, our lived history as Northwestern fans. Like everything that we have baked in, that is basically like, we're going to ride Mick McCall out for years and years while Northwestern fans pull their teeth out. There are going to be these decisions that you can't understand and that are really frustrating. And then you're going to feel like you are just stuck in those. And obviously, there was this moment a couple of days ago where Pat Fitzgerald hired Mike Bajakian as his quarterback coach at Michigan State. And part of the, I think, the reaction, I mean, the cackle / howls from Northwestern fan base at that decision, I think part of what was punctuated it, and part of the feeling was that, like, that is such a classic decision that Northwestern fans became used to. And we are now seeing it again, and it doesn't affect our world whatsoever. That is a Michigan State problem, and Michigan State can deal with it. But in such a short period of time, to see that hire and be like, Michigan State, quarterback recruits from the portal, you're effectively going to be trying to sell their quarterback coach and be like, he was really loyal to Pat Fitzgerald. He's a really loyal guy. And you're going to try to be selling that to some 19, 20-year-old guy through the portal versus being like, would you like to come play for Chip bleeping Kelly in a brand new stadium at Northwestern?
So that's the other, because you, John, you laid out kind of what Northwestern's done in the past, right? Of like, oh man, we stuck with Mick McCall forever. Even keeping Bajakian after 2022, before any of the scandal stuff hit, we were all like, you've got to be kidding me.
Right.
What are we hoping that this is our piece to blame and fire next season if things don't go well? Like, it just felt very cynical. And so that's like, if that's one end of the spectrum, hiring Chip Kelly is the other end of the spectrum. There's a middle road that Northwestern could have taken, where they wait to see what happens with Mike Kafka and NFL head coaching jobs, or they,
Kevin Johns or somebody, or
Kevin,
like,
or even like there's this aura around Northwestern fans where we don't we are quick to self-deprecate, and we are quick to and I do it all the time. I live in flipping Ohio. I like you kind of have to sometimes, but like we're not looking at these top tier guys. We're looking at the next tier. We're looking at the next tier guys, right? And this was a conversation that came up certainly when you were thinking about who's going to be head coach, as we're midway through that 2023 season, right?
Yeah.
And so much respect and credit and applause for the Northwestern brass, whoever was involved, for sitting down. And I assume that this played out, that they were like, all right, we are going to go get one of the absolute best possible people we can for this job. Not the best we can get for a Northwestern job, the best person you can get for an offensive coordinator position in football, period.
Right.
And they made a list of targets, and they went after those targets and talked to him. And like, this is why having an AD like Mark Jackson is so critical. The experience that he brings, the connections he brings, having been part of USC, part of that, basketball monster in Villanova, like a guy that has seen success at the top level of college sports in multiple different places, that has a relationship with Pete Carroll, has a relationship with Bill Belichick, like that really matters, and it sets the tone. And I can't. This is such a tone reset for Northwestern. So many of the messages that we got today were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that they actually did this." Like so much of the sports buzz broadly has been like, "Whoa, look at what Northwestern did. That's wild. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. We'll see." But so many of our Northwestern fans that we've heard from, and many of you that we've heard from, your comments have been like, I can't believe they actually did this.
Right.
This is so unlike anything I've experienced in the past. And it's it's not just one step removed from what's happened in the past, as you outlined, John. It's like several steps removed, and I like, hats off. It's so awesome.
I'm so
Like this is Northwestern acting like a big boy program
for sure.
Right? Like you want to win titles. You want to be in the conversation. You go out and you make swings like
money
this.
where your mouth is.
100%.
Right? And this is them doing it. And like we see what's happening at Indiana, right? Kurt Signetti coming in, changing everything. This is different. This is different because
it is different. The only thing that's similar is like one of the things John, you pointed this out last year about Kurt Signetti, is that one of the interesting things is that his defensive coordinator is one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in college football.
Was highest paid coming in. They threw like 1.2 at him or something. Yeah. Or 1.9. Yeah.
And recognizing that you cannot go cheap on your coordinators anymore in this world. And part of it is you got to attract kids to come play for your coach, and not just high school kids. It's not just about recruiting out of high school anymore. And it's you are constantly recruiting. Yeah. You need a name. You need flash. You need to say, look at this awesome stadium and look at what kind of offense you were going to run in here. Like you don't think, we were, okay, are we going to go out in the portal for a quarterback? You don't think we're not going to be in the talk for the pick of the litter, like the top quarterbacks out there, whoever they might be. You don't think we're going to be in that conversation now?
And you mentioned
1,000%.
You mentioned grades up if you want to play for Chip.
yeah, right, exactly. You mentioned quarterbacks too. It's a perfect one of the comps that we brought up relative to the Chip Kelly hire was Darian Mensah at Duke. When Darian Mensah picked Duke, everyone went, Duke? They must be paying through the nose to get him. And they were. But you know what? That was also Duke being like, guess what? We're players now. We will pay.
They won the ACC.
Be like, we're going to pay big money. This guy's the best guy. We're going to shock you with the amount of money that we're going to pay for him. And everyone's like, whoa, damn, Duke. Wow. And right, they just won an ACC title with him. They just re-upped for some other ridiculous amount of cash for him, and he's going to play for them for second year in a row. And now Duke is going to have 2 years of Darian Mensah, and everyone's like, wow, Duke took a huge swing no one was expecting. This is the same kind of thing. No one saw this coming. And Scuzz, I'm so glad you brought up the process, because I think that's a really important thing. And to double down on everything Scuzz said is like, all of you listening, really respect the process here. This had to have been like, you think they were just like, this process was calling up Chip Kelly and be like, what you doing? We're thinking of, this was some knockdown, drag out process where they put a ridiculously ambitious master list together and then hammered down doors until they got what they wanted. I think one of the pieces of proof of that, and it's kind of a little bit of a bummer, but it just is what it is the fact that Lujan didn't get a formal send-off here, right? There was no gap between, we're wishing goodbye to Zach Lujan here, and then a couple days, and then this. And I don't know anything, but to me, logically, that seems like a logical a logical side effect of a coaching search that is this feverish and this high profile, because you're basically locked into a situation where you are trying to hammer this ball over the goal line with one of the biggest names
while also keeping it as quiet as
exactly. Yeah. And you can't get a little bit pregnant with this kind of hire. I think over the past couple of days, it's going to start to leak and percolate. And then suddenly Northwestern's like, either you get in front of this now, and probably, right, they had probably only just barely brought this thing home and are like, we did it. And then suddenly it's like, congratulations, you have to get in front of this now or you're never getting in front of it. If you want to dictate how this comes out on your own terms, you either do it today or it happens out of your control. And I mean, so again, it's like, it was a bummer that we didn't get that process with Lujan, but that ought to just reinforce to all of you everything that Scuzz said. I think whether it's it's Jackson, whether it's Braun, whether it's anyone else on the staff, Christian Sarkisian, whoever, everyone involved with this program that worked so feverishly to bring this home, I'm just, can't tip their hats enough. What a swing that no one saw, but everyone appreciates.
And, we're talking like, this is a swing, right? Like, is it a home run hire? We shall see. There's nothing certain in college football anymore. Like, we just don't know. But what we do know is what Chip Kelly has done his entire career. Right. And with, there is the Raiders of it all, right? And there is like the beginning of this season with the Raiders, which was, this Raiders season has been a tire fire of epic proportions, and they're going to get the number 1 pick in the draft next year. But like, and yes, he was the OC there, but like, there.
It's very hard to divorce that situation from Pete Carroll, fired from Seattle, quite long in the tooth, and by all accounts, like that place is not being run like a tight ship.
It's the Raiders; they've never been.
Yes.
Like a tight ship.
The interesting thing will be, and there was somebody who jumped into one of the threads we were part of earlier today about Kelly, who was just talking about one of the things that has been most successful for Kelly over the years is the offensive staff that he surrounds himself with, and that is the next big question: is who fills out? Do we keep? Who do we keep that's on staff currently? Are there other names that might get added? There's a bunch of names floating out there in the ether right now. Some pretty big ones, frankly, that could come help flesh out the offensive staff. We don't know exactly what's going to come out in the wash there, but that will be really important. One of the things that was true in Las Vegas, is that Kelly did not hire any of the offensive staff. It was mostly Carroll guys, and we've heard others talk about how much Carroll was influencing that offense and his philosophy, not Chip Kelly's philosophy. So that'll be an interesting wrinkle to watch play out. But I think what jumps off the page to me is, and I studied Kelly quite a bit going into last season for the purpose of previewing the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ohio State,
right.
Yeah.
And I took a real kind of comedic lens at it with the idea of like, man, Ryan Day is like, his seat is as hot as the sun as far as Ohio State folks go, because he keeps losing to Michigan, and he needs to get over the hump and win a national championship. And I was like, I don't know that Chip Kelly's the guy to do it, just based on, like, yes, he was good at UCLA, but that's a big personality. Like, how is that going to work? Yada, yada, yada. The passing game, Will Howard, like, doesn't really look like the thing. And what I missed most palpably going into last season is that Chip Kelly might be the best orchestrator of the running game that has ever existed in college football. And John, you talked about it earlier with the nature of the way he leverages his quarterbacks, et cetera. And I don't think this had anything to do with the process, but if you're going to look at this Northwestern team and say, okay, we just went 7-6 with the best offensive line that we've ever had at this school, or at least that we've had at this school in 25 years. We have decent to good running backs. We've had success recruiting strong running backs here in the past. How do we build on that and incorporate a more modern, effective offense? This guy is the perfect guy.
I mean,
the perfect guy to hire.
It's like when taking the broad view with Chip Kelly, it's like his blessing is his curse. Is effectively mentioned Peter Principle online. I feel bad throwing about Peter Principle just because if you look at Peter Principle, it'd be like people are promoted to the level of their incompetence, and I don't like that the way that's phrased relative to Kelly. I think the more accurate way in his case is that, like, This guy was put on earth by God as one of the greatest offensive play callers that has ever existed.
Yep.
And it is almost impossible for a person like that to remain at the offensive coordinator level. And of course, that's not to take away anything that he did at Oregon. He's so good. Infamously, most of his teams, especially post-Oregon, pro and college, have not been good defensive football teams. Infamously, we talked about it when we talked about everything with Jim O'Neill relative to Northwestern. Chip Kelly, his 1 year with the Niners was basically like, I want to run a 3-4. This is the guy who's available to run a 3-4, and that was it. And Jim O'Neill was his guy, and it went horribly. The pros and, the Eagles thing went south on him pretty quickly. The pros have never really worked for him at any of the stops. It does bear mentioning, though, you guys talked about it earlier, for everything with the Raiders, and they talk like Ian Rappaport for the NFL Network reported that opposing defensive coordinators for playing the Raiders this past year, to their own surprise, found themselves prepping old Carroll tape, not old Kelly tape, because that's what they felt that they were seeing. So everything he's running with Ohio State and at UCLA, et cetera, that ain't what people were seeing on tape with the Raiders. So take from that what you will. But again, and it's like you have that, and then if you want to find people at UCLA who, there's no love lost on the way out the door, post UCLA, you will find those people too. And again, what all of these people, everyone comes back to, love him or hate him, is this guy is ungodly good at calling offensive plays. And his best fit is offensive coordinator. This is where he's most comfortable. Just let me cook, get out of the kitchen. I'm calling the plays. I'm running the offense. If you want to handle everything else, that's fantastic, because I'm trying to do this thing. I develop quarterbacks. I run this unbelievable offense. I just want, this is my thing. I'm better at it than anybody is. I just want to cook. And this is who we have running our offense now. We're not trying to have Chip Kelly put together a defense. Chip Kelly's not running the overall program. Chip Kelly is doing the thing everyone agrees Chip Kelly is better at than almost anyone on the planet. And it blows me away.
If I'm going to play armchair psychologist, and I'm going to look at the fact that, he was not fired by UCLA. He left that job to go be OC at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then went to be OC at the Raiders in the NFL. Yes, he was fired from that job, but now he's coming to be OC at Northwestern. If Chip Kelly wanted a head coaching job, he could get one.
Right.
He has that kind of gravitas. I mean, if Bill Belichick can get hired at North Carolina,
right?
Chip Kelly can get a head coaching job if he wanted it. And
after this was announced this morning, I went online and was like, okay, what, Google Chip Kelly, what's he being talked about? And he was linked to the Kentucky job.
Yeah.
There were college jobs that he was being linked to as head coach.
There were probably people calling him about that. And I just
guaranteed.
Again, we don't know, but again, playing armchair psychologist from the comfort of my couch here, it seems like he wants to just call offense and not be the head guy. And I just John, you put this up earlier today. Kelly's worst year at UCLA, they were 70th in scoring. The
first 2 years were worse, but down the stretch, 70th was the worst.
Yeah. His last 4 seasons, once he got situated there, et cetera, started to recruit, get his guys in right. Yeah. The other 3 seasons, they were top 20.
Right.
Including 8th in 2022. And when they dropped off in 23, it was a freshman QB who then got injured, and there was a whole bunch of stuff. During the same stretch, Northwestern's best offense was 93rd.
Right.
And our average was more like 115th. The worst of Chip Kelly would be a seismic shift in offensive success for Northwestern University.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing to you look at the Raiders thing, and to Scuzz's point, it's you'd be like, yeah, but if it was so good at Ohio State, why would he leave? Why would he go to the Raiders? I mean, there's any number of reasons. it's not insignificant. Chip Kelly was getting, not only was he the highest paid offensive coordinator on earth this past year, he was making almost twice what anyone else was making. And it's like, I mean, to turn that down to just go be Pete Carroll's play. I mean, like, who knows? Like, again, it sounds like it was just such an absolute mess at the Raiders this year for any number of reasons. But it's right. I mean, Scuzz's point of being like, this is a guy who kind of on his own realized, at this point, what, can't, like, I can just call the plays. It's like, yeah, everyone knows you're overqualified for this job. But just because you're overqualified for this job doesn't mean it's not the perfect job for you. And I think that's his thing. I mean, we haven't gotten, Scuzz alluded to some of the numbers. I mean, we've stayed away thus far from some of the eye-scorching numbers attached to Chip Kelly. I mean, Chip Kelly, he's coached 13 seasons total of college football. And it ain't like those 13 were a million years ago. It's 13 that stretch from the early 2000, the early 2010s to literally right now. Those 13 seasons, his teams in scoring offense have ranked 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7th, 8th, 8th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 20th, 70th, 80th, and 98th. And the 80th and 98th were his first 2 years at UCLA, working with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who subsequent to those 2 years became sick and was awesome in 2020, 2021, and 2022, and put up ridiculous numbers. His numbers are insane. We talked about, if you only look at Marcus Mariota, Jeremiah Mazzoli, Dennis Dixon, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, those 4 guys alone rushed, not threw, rushed for 7,202 yards. Every Northwestern quarterback since 2000 has rushed for only 400 more yards than that total. And keep in mind that group includes Kustok, Persa, Kane Coulter, Baz, etc. Kafka. Right. It's like it's not like Northwestern's been bereft of mobile quarterbacks, and our total barely is more than what those 4 guys have put up. This is a guy who has lit college football on fire in terms of his schemes and the way that he's able to produce. Everyone knows it's the preeminent mobile quarterback offense. If you can run and you can throw, this is as good as it gets. Will Howard, in some ways, went against the grain with that, in that he wasn't a super runner. But then his career accuracy had been hovering somewhere around 59%, and it went up to 70% with Chip. Now, with one of the greatest receiver cores anyone's ever seen, but still, I mean, Chip's been doing it this well. I mean, we joked so much. I just named his 13 FBS seasons. Before any of those, Ryan Day put up 8,000 yards of total offense with him at UNH. And then Ricky Santos put up 13,212 yards and beat Northwestern. And that all happened before Chip Kelly coached a down of FBS football. It's you talk about resumes, it's in conversation for the greatest offensive resume anyone has. It's ludicrous. Like, no one schemes better than this guy, and that exists right up till now.
So, will this work?
So
I don't know.
I do think it's a.
I know we're trying to couch, right?
Yeah, you alluded to it earlier, but I like, we just got done with Lujan, who came in, and I'm super guilty of having hyped him up so much. We were excited for Bajakian based on, like, maybe that's the best place to go, because Bajakian had a track record of, he'd get to a place and their offense would be not great, but by the time he left, he would get them, close to, if not in the top 50 offenses in college. And that was true at Cincinnati. It was true at Tennessee. It was true at Boston College. It was true. Was he at Central Michigan before he was at Cincinnati?
Central Michigan was his best stretch. Yeah.
Yeah. And, some of that surely is his ties to Brian Kelly. Some of that is, he had a transcendent quarterback talent in those Central Michigan years in what was it, Dan Lefevre.
Yep.
And but I think like the you saw it on the field when he got to Northwestern, the disjointed play calling, the stuff that just didn't fit, it didn't work. And I guess there's a chance that could happen, that Kelly could come and just not be a fit for what Northwestern is and for what Northwestern is trying to do and not be able to make things work. The difference, though, is, and we've talked about it a little bit already, but like Kelly's name and the gravitas that he just carries by the weight of his experience and what he's produced in the past, like I would assume, I don't think we're getting Arch Manning coming to Northwestern next year or anything, but I think like guys are going to want to play for him.
Oh yeah,
because he
and also,
go ahead.
Yeah, another thing this does is it signals that Northwestern wants to be in line with the big boys. Like, we're going to play with the big boys. You want to come play in this gorgeous new stadium? We just went out and got Chip Kelly. You don't think we're not going to invest in, even if it doesn't work with Kelly, which, I think it will, but we don't know. We're taking those swings.
Yeah. That's
and we have, and that is signaled to everyone. Like, we're here to play. We're here to rock.
That's the most important signal, is that this is no longer, I mean, this is no longer a program that is content to challenge, for something meaningful every 5 or 6 years, or is going to be content with 7-6 and a bowl win. Now, I don't think we're suddenly going to be Ohio State either, where one loss or two losses means, everything's out the door. But the aspirations are real. And I think it is, something, again, Braun said today, where he said, if we're going to stand up and say our goal is to win the Big Ten, is to go to the college football playoff, like we've got to act in a way that works with that, bullish aspiration. And this is them doing that. And like we've talked about it before, the money that comes from being a part of the Big Ten, the infrastructure now that is in place for schools to pay players directly through NIL, whether you like it or hate it, it is what it is. The facilities that Northwestern has built, both the indoor facility and now the new stadium over the last couple of years, this is a different playing field now, and Northwestern is positioned squarely on that playing field. Maybe again, maybe not with the Alabamas and the Ohio States, but we're here to play, not just be scrappy. And that is, again, just a seismic shift from the past.
Right. And you mentioned like what you're saying, Sam, like relative to that, selling it to quarterbacks, getting quarterbacks to come in. You can look and Scuzz, you were kind of an expert on this because we talked so much Dante Moore, like, when we were talking UCLA and then talking Oregon at the start of the Pac-12, the expanded Big Ten era, taking on the Pac-12 schools, is like, it famously did not work. Dante Moore's first year at UCLA, his only year at UCLA, Dante Moore was 17 years old at that period of time. He was a big-time recruit, but you can look at Dorian Thompson-Robinson's first year at UCLA, and that didn't go great either. And Thompson-Robinson was also a quarterback who was a big recruit, not as big as Moore, but a big recruit who came in and was given the keys. And it's like, this offense is not for an inexperienced quarterback. It's not an offense where an inexperienced quarterback is just given the keys and it works. The only Chip Kelly guy at the college level who really ever crushed with it immediately out of the box as a freshman is Marcus Mariota, the best quarterback Chip Kelly's ever had. But what is also incredibly true is the numbers very much support that if you are experienced in this offense, or both, you have major success. Whether it be Will Howard last year, whether it be Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who you can look at his performance. Literally for 5 years under Chip Kelly, he got better every single year. And it just like you can like the stats of the stats, like he just got better. The more he played in the offense, the better he was in the offense. That's true of Mazzoli, Darren Thomas, Dennis Dixon, all of the Oregon guys. The more they played in it, the better they got. And that's something that beyond the scheme and beyond how fun this offense looks like it is to play in, and how big the potential is to score points, and how good it looks and how attractive it looks as a quarterback, is the fact that like the track record shows up. That's like, look, if you show up and you stay in this offense for a couple of years, you will improve and have a chance to be a really special player. If you've already played 2 or 3 years of quality football starting somewhere else and you want to come in the portal, there's a really good chance that if you now go with Chip Kelly, things will go really well for you. Those are all big selling points. And yeah, like assume like someone, I forget who, some 5-star went into the portal today. And I just looking at it being like, maybe us. Why not us?
Yeah.
Like
the possibilities are endless in a way they've never been before. One thing I want to hit on is like your point is well taken, John, about the freshman piece of it all. But the freshman quarterback that's able to run full speed right out the gate and doesn't hold the ball too long and take sacks and have difficulty reading the field. I mean, that's pretty rare. Right. There are not many guys that you can point to that have been able to operate in college football that way as a freshman. Arch Manning's a junior.
Right.
And he struggled with that this year, his first year starting. Julian Sayin is a sophomore. Well, he's a redshirt freshman technically, but it's his second year, at least in the program. And against the first really nasty defense he played in Indiana, he struggled some. Like this is common for freshman QB. So I don't know that this is a quote unquote facet of Kelly's offense. It might be a little more complicated for someone, but like the development track record is maybe the thing that I'm more excited about than anything else. And the thing that will resonate the most with players, like this guy's going to develop talent and get guys ready for the next level. And that is like the number one, like if you think about what, I'm going to say something maybe weird now. Like if you think about what Northwestern aspires to be in every other part of the school,
right,
including
most other sports.
Well, I was going to say including the music department, where it's not just about your test scores; it's about performance. It's about a different skill set. It's developing and teaching students to be successful, incredibly successful beyond school. And so like this, like there's an identity and a fit here with Northwestern that is that I think can be built. I don't think I'm spinning something or connecting dots that are too far apart here. And I don't think this is on the forefront of anybody's mind, but like that's the sort of stuff that I can get excited about as I see the potential here.
I also want to talk about the timing of this. Like we're recording this on the 30th, on December 30th. The transfer portal opens January 2nd. The fact that,
and guess what?
If this was a question going into, if we didn't have something set in stone going into the transfer portal window, and there's a ton of other stuff like that is going to be going into getting transfers to come into Northwestern. We talked a little bit about the calendar, and Braun today said we're going to figure out how to make this work, but we can't do that if we don't have a direction.
Yep.
And we now have a direction. Yep. We now have Chip frickin' Kelly when the portal's about to open.
Well, and this news is going to get mentioned in every lead up to bowl games, probably by announcers in the second half of games like that. Like this is going to get talked about.
The first reporting I saw on it was Adam frickin' Schefter and Pete Thamel, ESPN pro reporter, like NFL reporters are calling this out. Yeah. This was not just like, oh, Northwestern's making a hire. This was national news
and notable national news that to the point of that you guys made about Kelly being in the mix and for the Kentucky job and other jobs, et cetera. Like this is going to continue to get talked about. The buzz is going to continue to be there. That is going to filter down and make its way into the recruiting space. I would be fascinated to hear what the guys on the team, how they're reacting to this.
Well, you saw Joe Hyman's tweet.
I did see Joe Hyman's tweet.
About to get scary.
Yeah. And so you hope, you hope that there's no like double meaning there and that everybody in the locker room is excited. I'm sure there are some guys that are thinking like, this might not be for me, or they have there's a million reasons. We've talked about this in the past. There's a million reasons guys transfer these days. I
can rattle off 10 successful Oregon running backs right now who look just like Joe Hyman. So
I know, right? But point being there's so much more to come on the heels of this, but the timing couldn't be better, and it's kind of a gift that he was let go from the Raiders 4 weeks ago or whatever it was. You look at we were having a bit of a conversation when the news was starting to come a little bit that we were going after somebody big, and I was convinced it was Kafka.
Yeah.
I was convinced that was when somebody said, "Oh yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be a national news story." I was like, "Well, there's nobody else other than Kafka. Who else could it be?"
Right.
And I'm so glad, not having to wait for the NFL cycle to play out, not having to wait for all those other things is a real boon. And again, a credit to the process and the fact they clearly just jumped on this full bore.
I think too of you mentioned the players on the team, a guy like Griffin Wilde, right? I think one thing we've all had in the back of our minds, and this guy was unequivocally WR1 for us, all season, from the very beginning to the end. There was never any doubt about it. From the opening plays of the Tulane game through his awesome performance in the bowl game, that is the guy. That is also a guy who had a massive relationship with Zach Lujan, and that relationship to Zach Lujan helped bring him here. And again, we don't know anything about Griffin Wilde or what his headspace is or what his plans are, etc. But there's definitely a thing rattling around in the back of my mind being well, we're probably going to be saying goodbye to Lujan here, and what does that mean for guys who are in the current system, particularly with Wilde? Does that mean that he's thinking I'm going on? And then suddenly you're well, how about Chip Kelly? How's that for you? How's playing for Chip Kelly in a brand new building, right? And there are a lot of guys. We mentioned there's a bunch of guys who have gotten their degree or just gotten their degree, right? And there's a whole generation of guys who are just getting their degrees now who are the last class of guys who were recruited by Fitz, etc., right? And there's a lot of that factoring in, and there are a lot of guys weighing, well, okay, for everything we've said, this is, end of an era, what's the situation here? What does my future look like for my final year if I have 1 year of eligibility left? What's the lay of the land? What are my plans going to be? And now you're being well, how about Chip Kelly and a brand new $850 million stadium? And again, it's we don't know anything. I don't know. There's obviously things are going to play out. Guys are going to make decisions. No doubt Chip Kelly is going to be having conversations with all kinds of guys, and they're going to be ironing this all out. But you have to think that for certain guys, be it Wilde, be it Hyman, be it whoever, suddenly looking at this and being man, oh man, this is one heck of a thing that I could be part of next year. And yeah, in addition to all the guys that we may or may not be looking at through the portal coming in, having that extra carrot for all the guys that are already on this team that we already really love, that's amazing too.
Yeah, this is the first step. This is the first step of many. We've been saying this all night, and I am so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this now. It might be old hat by the time we get there, or by the time this is posted. But keep your eyes out on whoever we announce as QB coach.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the next big piece of information.
It won't be Mike Bajakian.
Right.
It will not be Mike Bajakian. But I'm really curious who Kelly brings in. There's some chatter and some buzz out there based on guys he's worked with in the past. But I think that will, I think, continue to reinforce the effort to invest from a Northwestern perspective. And as the staff, I assume they're going to want to have as much of the staff sorted out as they can by the time, by the time the portal is rolling. So there might be news in the next handful of days. We'll see what happens. But I feel like that's what's next. And then man, this is going to be a portal period unlike any other that we have ever experienced at Northwestern. That is for sure.
Yeah. And probably on the defensive side of the ball too. I mean, one of the things that I kind of love about this is, we were juxtaposing it that, again, we don't know exactly what happened with that dumpster fire with the Raiders, but what we do know is that clearly there were a lot of cooks, right? Like, sounds like a too many cooks kind of situation here.
Carol's sons and
right. And then here it's Braun being like, I'm a defensive guy. This is Chip Kelly. He'll handle it. He knows offense better than anybody does. Do what you need to do, Chip. The offensive side of the ball is your thing. I will help you get players. I will help you, but I'm managing the overall program. Offense is your whole specialty. And Braun, a defensive guy, it gives him that much more time to interface with Tim McGarrigle and Christian Smith and whoever else, right? And be like, we're going to work to lock up this defense even more. And focus on that. That's my defensive identity runs right through McGarrigle, runs right through, and it's like, we are all strong in this area. We can lock in on this because we have an absolute Zen master of the offense operating the other side of the ball. And he's been doing this for decades and he knows exactly how it all plays out. Like, that all makes sense to me. That all seems like it works. There is no one trying to get into the kitchen to mess with Chip Kelly's offense. Chip Kelly's got full reign to do it exactly how he wants with the personnel that he wants. And everyone is totally happy with that. And I don't know. Again, like we say, and like Scott said, like, trying to couch, this is no guarantee that anything will work out well. It just makes sense in my mind.
Well, just to build on what you were just saying a bit, and this is for those who have been around as long as we have, and remember the Randy Walker era, and not just remember it, but lived the Randy Walker era. Once upon a time, Northwestern had arguably the best, most electric offense in the Big Ten.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, but...
a hot minute.
I mean, Kevin Wilson was our offensive coordinator, and he and Randy Walker took what Rich Rod was doing at West Virginia. And actually, Rich Rodriguez was OC at Clemson, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they met with him over the offseason, and they met with, I think, the Rams in the NFL, the greatest show on turf, around the same time. And then they put together the Northwestern offense of 2000 that won the Big Ten and was incendiary, et cetera, with Zach Kustok, Damian Anderson, et cetera. We have had exceptional, incredible, transcendental offenses at Northwestern in the past. Barnett ran a very good pro-style offense here. Even Garrick McGee, in the post-Wilson years, I thought ran a great offense. There have been some down periods. Mike Dunbar comes to mind. The first couple of years of Mick McCall were really solid. Like, it feels like we've been unable to do anything in this space for like 12 or 13 years. And I do think some of that has been the lack of willingness to invest and a willingness to lean on that defensive identity. And many of us who were around in those Walker years or Barnett years, et cetera, have said over and over, like, why not both? Why can't we be good at both defense and offense?
Right.
And John, what you just laid out, the way that Kelly and Braun and these staffs can work together and focus on their respective side, like, that's how you do it.
Right.
You have a head coach, and whichever side of the ball that head coach is less aligned to, you bring in a baller coordinator. That's the way you do it.
Saban and Sarkisian.
Yes.
Saban and Kiffin. Right. Like,
perfect. Exactly the words that were going through my mind.
Yep.
Like, this is the way to do it.
Yep.
Whew. I mean,
who needs a drink?
Seriously. Obviously, so much more to talk about with this. At risk of making this a 3-hour overnight, I think we should probably leave it here.
This will be the gift that keeps on giving.
Indeed.
Yeah, there will be much more to say. Like I said, the portal opens this weekend. We've got the college football playoff coming up, starting New Year's Eve. Indiana, Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, Texas Tech, Georgia, Ole Miss. I mean, these are 4 solid games. There's a lot going on, obviously. There's basketball happening. I mean, the Cats, beat Howard today. Great. That's awesome. Conference play is coming up. We'll get into all this, but I think to leave it here, just once again, this is exciting. This is really, really exciting. We are over the moon for this, and the fact that we could take what was this malaise and get a bowl win, beat up on a Central Michigan team we should have beat up on, and then to take that momentum, bring in Chip frickin' Kelly, and to see this palace. It's not on the horizon anymore. It's right in front of us. Right. This new stadium is opening up in months. There's a lot of work to do left on it. Absolutely. It's not done. It's getting we have not heard any solid ticketing or anything like that. That's all still to come, but it's here. It's not the vision anymore. It's in
David
front of
Braun
us.
is about to go into the portal with Chip Kelly and sell the bejesus out of this. It is it's this brand new stadium, right? It's if you're in the portal right now, or you're a prospective, you'll play in this building, right? And if you're on offense, you will play for Chip Kelly. And everything we have been taught in the past couple of days is that they're going to go absolutely just insane trying to sell this and trying to do everything they can to get guys to buy in.
Any final thoughts before we go tonight?
Scuzz mentioned it earlier. We've alluded to the malaise, right? That little pall that hung over. And then it's been a good week. It's been from that bowl win right up and through this high. Northwestern Twitter was having fun today, boy. It's nothing but happy thoughts and hopeful looks towards the future.
We're nutcases. We're always excited about the next year.
Right.
There are a lot of people we have heard from today, both diehard Northwestern fans who have said probably for the first time in many years, I'm so excited for next year. And then casuals, I got a text at 9:00 this morning from a colleague who was like, "Whoa." It's a colleague I talk about college football all the time with, but for this to pop on his radar, this is the big time. And there might be some weird things or negatives that come with this down the road. We'll see what the future brings, but man, it was a real shot in the arm to see this news hit the wire this morning and to be able to talk about it tonight. No doubt.
Absolutely. So with that, let's go ahead and leave it there for tonight. Head to our website, westlawpirates.com, where you can leave comments and questions. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, at Westlaw Pirates, and you can always email us, westlawpirates@gmail.com. Tune in next time as we give our visceral and statistical views on Northwestern athletics, and look for us in the west side of Ryan Field flying the red pirate flag, because we give no quarter, especially the fourth. For John Lacombe and Eric Scasbo, I'm Sam Walter. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.